Alright, we're going to make a vine along this canvas, and as you can see I have a dark color. This is burnt umber here, and a white on the right. I'm going to double load. I may even pull in some burnt sienna just for a contrast. Since I am working on canvas and this is similar to working on a wall, I'm going to also put in some floating medium before I start. I'm going to side load a little on the burnt umber, side load with the white, and then come in and blend. Maybe pick up a little more burnt umber, a little more white, and I think a touch more of the floating medium to blend this. I want this to be fairly thin to work with, not too heavy. And I may just side load just a touch of the burnt sienna to give it some reddish highlights. Okay, we're ready to begin. I'm going to hold my brush perpendicular to the canvas with the white leading. I touch the canvas and lift slightly on the white edge as I start to move my brush up and around and up. Let's take a wider view here. Alright, now we don't just have one line when we see a branch, or especially a vine, so I'm going to come back, touch down again, and I want to cross over. Make it a little more interesting. Maybe bring a little stem out. Not all stems on a vine are going to be the same length. We may come up a little ways, maybe pull and curve out again. I don't want all the branches to be the same width. I don't want them to all be the same length. A little contrast is nice. Alright. When you start a new branch, it's always more interesting. Let's slide this down a little ways. If you will come below and then cross over. Okay? Don't just pull up. This is not going to look natural. It's not going to look like it flows. Curve a little bit. You want the contrast between the dark shades and the light shades to show through. Alright? And as always, it's better to have too little than too much. You can always come in and add a branch later if you feel like this vine is not quite full enough. There you go. Once you add your leaves and your flowers, you can always come back in and add more. Okay? Let's pick up a little green and we'll do a few of the leaves. Alright, I've added to my palette some thicket. This is a green color, a dark green, very close to a lot of leaves that you'll see in nature. I'm going to take the side of the brush that I had dipped in the burnt umber. I'm not going to clean the brush. I'm just going to come in, maybe a little more floating medium, and just work this in to the puddle that I had, or the place I had before where I was blending. If it looks like too much floating medium, just wipe it off, or you can use a paper towel. But I would not wash the brush, because the more of the other colors that you have coming into the leaves, the more it's going to tie in with the rest of your picture. You can even come in, touch a little bit of the white to the burnt sienna for even more contrast. Okay? Now what we're going to do is basically a one-stroke leaf. This is going to be a very large one on here because I'm using a large brush. what I am doing, I am again leading with the white. I'm going to put my brush down, and if you can imagine, this is a clock here. I'm going to start my brush off perpendicular to the page, but kind of tilted toward with the white at 2 o'clock. Okay? I'm going to touch, lean, pull, and come up to chisel. I didn't have a lot of paint on my brush. I'm going to go back and reload it. The nice thing with this is you can load up again with some more paint. With the acrylic paint, you can immediately paint over what you just did. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Load it up a little more. Touch, pull, and come out. Going to come up from my vine into the leaf for a stem. Alright, we're going to move this in just a little bit. Let's do another leaf. Each leaf that I do, especially when I'm using a brush this size, I'm going to reload it before I do another leaf. It just gives you a fresher look each time you start. I might want to add just a little bit more of the burnt sienna this time. Again, I'm going to come, touch. I may make a few blending strokes to see if that's the way I like it. I like the colors, so push and pull. This time I want to come backwards from the leaf and actually pull a stem out. Now, I think I would like to make the edge of my leaf a little bit rounder. So, I can always come back and do this again. I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on my leaf this time. And that's a little bit rounder this time. Again, pull back through. For a large paintbrush, if you want large leaves, you have a large wall border going up on a tall wall, you'll want a large brush. I don't have a large filbert this size, so I'm using the flat brush. It's again a 1-inch flat brush. One thing you can do when you have several leaves such as these, if you want to fill in just a little bit but you don't want as much color, you don't want all the leaves with a heavy color such as these, you can do what we call shadow leaves. What I will do is just take my brush. Again, I'm not going to wash it out because I want some of the color left in here. I'm going to wipe off as much as I can, and then I'm just going to dip in the pure floating medium. I'm going to work that into my brush right here on the palette. You can see there is some color left there, but it's very transparent. It's not going to be as heavy as these other leaves, so that I can fill in with what we call shadow leaves. And again, pull in. And you can see the difference. Each time that I come back and reload with more floating medium, I'm going to have less and less color. These are a really good way to fill out your painting without making it too bold with too many dark colored leaves. Alright, That's it for now. We are going to finish up putting the flowers on the border, and we'll be right back.